Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07. Today we are playing the zoo again. This time Goyf is back in the zoo with a freshly unbanned card in Modern Preordain. Preordain fitted in great in the zoo build. It allows you to dig early for the extra land if you need it, because zoo really needs to hit its lands in the early turns. So getting to keep one lander or play a Preordain to find that missing third, fourth land you need can be really good. Also, it's great top deck in the mid and late game when you're trying to find that Tribal Flames or Bolts to finish off your opponent. It has just been really good in a lot of the games, and in some games it has been like I didn't have time to use it. My hand was just too good, and I didn't have time to use the Preordain because the game was too tense, and using Preordain would be too risky if you don't hit a land or stuff like that. But overall, I really liked it, and it makes Goyf better, and that's why I decided in this Preordain build to go with the 4 Goyfs. Okay, so very clean list, or all 4 offs, 20 creatures, 20 non-creatures, 20 lands. Okay, on the sideboard we have Jegantha. So in this build with Goyf, of course, we can't really play the Rest in Peace. So we have Nihil Spellbomb and Unlicensed Curse as our choices for the Graveyard Hate. And we can't really also play Hidetsugu Consume Soul. It's also non-bull with the Goyf. So we have one of Explosives and one of the Filigree Sylex. Okay, so the rest is pretty much the same as in my Nishoba Brawler Bowmasters build. I also had a great time with that build that used the 3 Bowmasters, 2 Nishobas, and 2 Chain to the Rocks in the main. And I also had 16-4 run last week with that list. I had a 9-1 run with this list in the last 2 days, and I really liked both of them. I would give a minor advantage to this list at the moment, because I feel like Goyf is good against Jund Saga, it's good against DRC decks, it's also good against Cam. But both lists, but also Bowmasters is also decent in all of that. I mean, good in all of that matchup. So I think it's really close. Both lists work well, and it's more. I think Preordain is the biggest difference between these two. I also considered just running the Bowmasters in this list instead of Goyfs, or cutting 1 Preordain, cutting 2 Goyfs to add 3 Bowmasters. I'm still thinking of these changes, but for now this is the list that performed best, and in first 10 matches I got a 9-1 result, which is just incredible. Okay, so that is it. Let's go to the gameplay. Okay, so old matches were the most popular decks at the moment on MTGO. Okay, so first match, a good example of keeping a 1-lander with Preordain. I would previously never ever do this, but being able to cast Wild Nacatl and then with the same land on turn 2 going for Preordain, then hoping to find another land to cast Bolt, it was just pretty good, and that's exactly what happened. So I went Preordain, found me another land, went for the Foundry, and bolted their DRC. So in this situation I was very happy with Preordain. Also my Goyf was already pretty big in this matchup, so really like that too. Okay, so had a pretty good hand. My opponent was obviously holding a counterspell in this situation, so I went for the Savai Triome, and yeah, prepared for them countering the Goyf. I decided to play into the counterspell because they were just really low on cards at this point. I had multiple removals for all of their stuff, and still had Jegantha there, and more decks in a creature, more creatures left in deck that they have removal. Okay, so I find the Ragavan. They used their last card in hand. It was Heat, and they play that top deck Murktide, but I don't care about it because I have double Leyline in my hand. So I'm in a pretty good position in this situation. Double Tribal Flames and the Leyline Binding, Scion of the field. Opponent didn't draw anything and decides to concede the game. So let's check out the game 2. Okay, so if you check out most of the latest stats, you can see that Zoo has positive matchup against Murktide decks. I don't know. I don't know how good are those lists, obviously, but if you look at them, it certainly seems like Zoo has a positive Murktide matchup, about 60%, I think. Okay, so I have the Leyline Binding for their moon. That is my primary concern at this point. So I decide to go for Ragavan Dash. Opponent uses Counterspell. Pretty happy with this outcome. So they go for iteration. This means I'm probably be able to just resolve my Goyf and go for... I don't care much about the green basic at this point because I have the binding. So I decided not to. Not to go for a green basic, but go for a full domain. Play both Goyf and Ragavan in this situation. Okay, so opponent goes for iteration and plays the heat. It kills my Goyf. I play Preordain. I see the Kavu on top and I decide to keep it. I wasn't able to play it immediately, but it was good card at this point, and I decide I really want it in my hand. Opponent again has 6 cards in hand, plays Murktide, but they don't have a counterspell. If you check out most of their sideboard guides, they mostly trim or completely remove the counterspells. So it wasn't strange for me, but my opponent had a pretty good play in this turn. They used explosives to kill my Kavu and Goyf. I thought like I'm in a pretty bad situation at this point, but I played the flames to the face. I played Chained, exiled their channeler, and had a double bolt in my hand to finish this game. So I just was patient with Goyfs, playing around the Spell Pierce or whatever. So I didn't go Jegantha hand, I just went bolt. I just went for bolt end of turn, and then I went for a bolt upkeep. It didn't seem like they have the pierce, so I just went for it, and they didn't have a counterspell, so that was the game. I wonder what was the 5 cards in their hand. Okay, but never mind. Yeah, so let's go on to the match 2. They probably just had a handful of removal or lands. Okay, so I played first here, and I went for tap Triome on turn 1 because I had the double Scion. When you have a Scion, obviously you're probably not going for Preordain on turn 1. But this is fine. You can dig for it you can go for it later just to dig that burn spell or binding or whatever. This was a junk matchup. I think some card selection in this matchup is pretty cool. So I went for this turn I decided the Goyf was so small. I decided to go for Scion of Draco and hold Stubborn Denial, but they had the Boseiju. Boseiju is very dangerous for me in this matchup, because if they get the Vren, they can like really demolish me with a lot of these Boseiju effects. I have Scions, I have Leyline Bindings, so obviously it can be pretty good against me. But I just I also had too much targets for Boseiju at this point, so they can't kill everything with it. I top deck Kavu. Kavu was pretty good. Attacked with Scion, put them on 9 life, which means I have Lethal on board and Stubborn Denial in hand, plus the Binding. So I Stubborn their Fatal Push and still hold the Binding. They're on 7. So I go for attack obviously here, and opponent didn't have anything, so they just concede. So that was the game 1 against Jegantha. Let's check out game 2. Okay, so in the game 2 had a decent hand. I was kind of confused by opponent taking Preordain here. I had 4 good creatures, all of them really good in this matchup. So I was pretty confused about this one. Maybe they just had a handful of removals, but I decided to go for a Territorial Kavu first and see what happens. They had a Fatal Push. So I go for a Goyf in this situation because it looked like they're maybe holding Boseiju. So I just decided to go for a Goyf and use my Leyline Binding. Opponent has another push, which is fine. I decide to go for the Binding, exile their Tarmogoyf. I'm already on 9 life, but my opponent just 2 cards in hand. And I have 2 Scions plus the Spellbomb. So I play out one of my Scions, play the Spellbomb. In case they play the Boseiju, they can't get it back from the graveyard at least, so that is good. Opponent plays Jegantha as expected, so this was fine. I mean, I had Binding and another Scion for my next turn. I played my tapped land, decided not to shock in for the Tomb because I was already on a 9 life. Opponent goes for explosives, but this time they only kill the Spellbomb, nothing else. They also were holding a Boseiju, which they needed to use on one of my Scions to be able to survive a few more turns. So I went for attack here. They had a Boseiju, but I played Nacatl, put a Jegantha to hand, which was decent. Still got the 4 damage in, so I had 5 mana to play my Jegantha next turn. But opponent now had a Vren plus Boseiju. I attacked Vren with Scion, so that way, if they want to rebuy the Boseiju, they have to target Scion again with Boseiju. And I wanted that because that means that I'm going to connect 3 damage to the face. And I didn't want them to Boseiju the Binding and block my Nacatl. So I played Preordain. I decided to put Bolt in my hand. They were on 4 life, but still they needed 2 removals in this situation to survive the Bolt. So they blocked my Jegantha, but couldn't block the Nacatl and finished them off with Bolt, and that was it. Okay, so let's go check out match 3. Okay, so in the match 3, playing first, had a decent, I had a pretty good hand, no interaction, but a lot of creatures. Unfortunately, opponent starts with the Gemstone Caverns. They were on Rhinos, but they also mulligans to 5, so the Gemstone Caverns start wasn't that great, as it usually is. I connected with Ragavan. and decided to play both of my creatures. This means Nacatl and the Goyf, and then opponent goes turn 2 Shardless Agent, but for some reason doesn't play the Crashing Footfalls. Did they misclick, or I'm really not sure. But I find the full domain, play the Scion, give my Ragavan first strike, trample to these guys, go on with everything. I have Tribal Flames in my hand, and that's it. Opponent concedes. Okay, opponent misclicked for a quick win there. So in the game 2, played second. I kept a pretty medium hand, just a Scion Binding Flames. I removed Nacatls and removed Bolts for some hate. Yeah, I mean, I could have gone for I could have gone for not crack my fetch, but go for 4/4 Kavu on turn 2. It ended up not being relevant, but definitely play I could have done. Then next turn I went for Kavu plus Scion. They play the subtlety, put Kavu on top, and just play my Scion. If they play Rhinos, I have double removal next turn. So pretty good situation for me. I'm first to start attacking. They go for the Shardless. But these Rhinos, just 2 Rhinos, doesn't mean much when I have 5/5 first strike trample Kavu in the blocks. So I play another Scion because I have a Flames which can potentially just end the game next turn. They go, Magus made my Kavu 3/3, so I didn't block. But I go for the binding next turn. They use a Force of Negation. So I use Tribal Flames to kill the Magus. And so my Kavu becomes a 5/5 again. And I decided not to go with everything, so they don't top deck Fire Ice to kill me. But to play safer, stay back with the Scion and Kavu. But they had a very, very good top deck. Murktide Regent. Still, it was okay position for me. I had a Goyf in hand, but I top decked the Leyline Binding immediately for a kill with the Scion, so that was it. Okay, so let's check out match 4. Okay, match 4 was one of the worst matchups for Zoo. It was Dredge, especially this version with the Goyfs where I don't have the resting pieces. It's especially hard to win a first game pre-board. Post-board, I put in the Flusterstorms and also Nihil Spellbomb and the Hearse. My only loss in the first 10 matches was against Dredge. So in the first league with this deck, I lost the trophy game to Dredge, and now I faced Dredge again. But now I had 2 Kavus and the Stubborn Denials. Kavu attacked, exiled Ox of Agonas from their graveyard. Stubborn doesn't interact with Ox, so I really had to get rid of Ox. They played the Gaze, and I decided to use my Stubborn Denial. The price damage come into play tapped, so I only needed to find a single removal to win immediately. And I did find Flames. It was not a removal, but it was damage to face, so I succeed to win. Okay, let's check out the game 2. In the game 2 was I think very close, but I had a misclick, which decided the game. Okay, this is pretty decent hand. I can't ask for much more. I can ask for, of course, a Spellbomb, a Hearse, or a Kavu, but they usually go for They usually go for Cathartic Reunion or something like that on turn 2, but yeah, this was the misclick. I accidentally clicked on the Heat, and immediately after I played the Heat, I had the Foundry in my hand, which means I can't get the red source on the field, which means I can't play the Territorial Kavu or the Scion of Draco. It was just a terrible, terrible misclick. And they were obviously playing around Stubborn Denial, so this meant they are going to play the third land, and I'm not going to be able to Stubborn Denial anything. So it was just a terrible misclick and completely destroyed this game. I don't have another red source that I can fetch with the Heat. It's just Foundry. My other red source is Steamvents and the Savai Triome, so I'm not able to go for it with the Heat. So it was just played too fast, and yeah, this completely changed the game, and I wasn't able to interact. If I had Kavu on the field right now, I would be able to next turn exile best card from their hand, from their graveyard. Sorry, that would be Gaze, and I would also get to play another land. I would also be able to play the Hearse, Hold, the Stubborn Denial. This would be a completely different game. Yeah, I would definitely win this game if I already had Kavu plus Hearse on the field, plus Stubborn Denial. Yeah, it would be so good. I decided to go for Stub there, and my opponent had a Portable Hole. Yeah, so also this was very relevant situation. I completely stabilized, despite all that. Completely stabilized, play the blocker, play the Spellbomb. They had. Yeah, so they already exiled 3 Creeping Chills from their graveyard. Okay, so yeah, a really close game. I thought I had a Spellbomb, I had the Hearse, I had Goyf in hand. They were on a lot of life, but yeah, they just drew very well. I thought I'm still going to win here, just playing, killing the Ox, immediately exiling Ox, playing Goyf and still having Spellbomb, but they top deck a 4th Creeping Chill to target me to face, and that was the game. So, okay, so let's check out game 3. That unfortunate misclick on turn 2 almost decided the entire game, but luckily I had a draw good hand on the game 3, so I was able to win anyway. I also had some luck, definitely. Yeah, so another misclick for me. I just passed until end of turn, and they played a Gaze in their second main phase to trick me. Okay, so, but it was, if I played the Stubborn Denial, I would go for a Territorial Kavu on turn 2, and I would be in a lot better situation. But now, once they didn't do that, I decided to go for a Hearse on turn 2. And yeah, so now I played my Kavu on turn 3 and just tried to, didn't want to go for Preordain. Not hitting a land here would be too risky. So I decided just to play the Kavu here, hold Hearse to remove good cards in case they try to do draw discards, dredging, and similar. So now I was in a significantly better situation. I played the Preordain, I got the third land I wanted. I decided to counter the Gaze and immediately remove the Gaze from the graveyard. This obviously can be a bit risky if they play something crazy good right now. They had Cathartic Reunion, but yeah, often with the Cathartic Reunion, nothing crazy happens that same turn, but if you can't interact for 2 turns, then it's over. But In this situation, they played another reunion and put Conflagrate into their graveyard. I think this is some kind of mistake. Opponent had only 3 cards. Yeah, I think this is some kind of mistake. Yeah, they played. I countered this reunion. They only had 3 cards in hand with Conflagrate, so they didn't have a lethal or anything. And I basically won the game next turn by reanimating Hearth with the Scion from my hand, which was lethal damage. So that was the game. Okay, so let's check out the last game. Last match was also against one of bad matchups for Zoo. It is mono black Cabal Coffers. That matchup is not favored for Zoo because they just play so many removals. I was thinking between cutting a Ragavan or a Nacatl. I choose well. I decided to put down second Ragavan, but opponent had explosives here on turn 1, which was their only solution for Ragavan. That's why I went for Leyline Binding immediately, getting rid of this. And they didn't draw a solution for Ragavan. Instead, they just went for Night's Whispers. So I played a double Nacatl. And yeah, so I was able to deal 6 damage here with Nacatl, which was key for this game. They now play the bridge and the Spellbomb, preventing me from attacking Nacatl, but I had Tribal Flames, and it was just a matter of time before I get that last damage. Have 4 bolts, I have a lot of stuff. I reveal Ragavan, but I can't attack with it. Opponent has only 1 card in hand. They're trying to find a solution. They need instant speed removal. This means another March or another Fatal Push or something. They didn't find it, and that was game 1. Okay, so this is definitely a hard matchup, and I had to mulligan to 5 cards. Also, my Lance Temple Garden plus Heat is not a good match, so I can't really find. I can't find the blue or red mana. I need to choose between the two. So I can either go for Savai Triome or the Zagoth, but opponent had the Shadow of Doubt here. This was actually a misplay from my side. I should have known they played the Shadow, so I should have fetched immediately on my turn. I didn't do it, and basically didn't draw that blue mana for rest of the game. I just had these two, and I wasn't able to cast a lot with just these 2 lands, so that was pretty much game over. Okay, so I played for another turn and just conceded the game. So let's check out game 3 in the trophy match. So this may not seem like a big mistakes, but these small mistakes can very easily just completely decide the course of the match and completely just ruin the game for you. So unfortunately, I top deck 2 lands from the top, and my only threat at this point was Ragavan. I top deck another land, but again, my opponent didn't have a solution for Ragavan. They probably had just a sorcery speed removal. I went for another Ragavan dash, and I hit Amazement Tome from the top. I decided to go for a fetch. I expected them to play the Shadow of Doubt, and I wanted to use my Stubborn Denial just to prevent them from drawing the cards. I didn't want to let them draw into solutions, and that's why I played their Mazemind Tome, and immediately decide to play the Leyline Binding, exiling their Nihil Spellbomb, preventing them from drawing more cards. So they had Profane Tutor on suspend right now, getting probably this Urborg, getting rid of... just played another Spellbomb. At this point I was able to use their Mazemind Tome. I draw another card. I find Stubborn Denial plus Scion of Draco. Very happy with this. Both of these draws are very useful at this point. So I exiled their Shadow of Doubt, but decided not to use it. Instead, I went to cast my Scion of Draco and hold a Stubborn Denial. This is like very close to lethal for next turn if I draw another burn spell or something. Opponent has Damnation here, but I use my Stubborn Denial. I scry top, see the Tribal Flames, which is perfect. This means lethal damage. So I go for, with both of my creatures, they have a push now. They find a push for Ragavan, but I use 2 of my spells, burn spells, to finish the game, and that was it. So that was the entire league. And as I said, I'm very happy with this build. 9-1 total. 9-1 total with this list. My only loss was in the first league, loss against Dredge, so which is really among worst matchups. And that's it. So all other games I played against very competitive decks like Scam, like Murktide, and a lot of these bad matchups for Zoo like Dredge and Coffers, Control. So I think I'm very happy how the list play out, and I know that a lot of you are going to ask, do you prefer Brawler or Tarmogoyf? In this, my current opinion, in this Preordain build, Preordain just makes overall Tarmogoyf a lot better, and it's not like Bubble, which you play, which people previously played in the Zoo lists just to make Goyf playable, but it's also just a really good card for this archetype, which helps you with the curve out, with the land, helps you find the lands and helps you find your finisher or burn spell, and it works very good. But I'm also at the moment just considering going with 4 Bowmasters or doing the Bowmasters Goyf split and stuff like that. So but also just want to point out that I'm going to stick with this list that had a great beginning in the MTGO leagues. A 9-1 is really good result, and I'm going to play this exact list some more and then experiment further with the Brawlers, Bowmasters. I already mentioned my Brawler Bowmasters list, which also performed great last week. I had a 16-4 run with it, and also it performed great against a lot of top decks in the format at the moment. And that's it. Okay, so that's it for today. If you want to help the channel, if you like this kind of content, please click like, subscribe, comment in the video. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.